All right, ladies and gentlemen, for everybody rocking with us, we appreciate y'all coming through to another episode of the Green Room via Community College. Man, we got a very special guest today in Rapsody here to just say her piece and to walk through a little bit of her journey. Um, and I feel so fortunate and blessed to have her on board. So, one, we appreciate you rocking with us and coming to talk to our community here at Rhapsody. And maybe we open it up by just giving you an opportunity to introduce yourself, say hi to the people, and then we will get through some questions and have some conversation that we think will unlock some insights that'll be useful for all the brothers and sisters logging in.
Absolutely. What's up, y'all? I'm Rapsody. Uh, I'm from North Carolina. I'm an MC, an artist, a recording artist, a poet, an aunt, a sister, a friend. Um, you know, um, I'm an artist that's inspired by purpose, and the purpose is, to inspire other young girls, to live in their truth and see their light. I like basketball, I like sports. I love to learn. I'm a movie head, and I'm so happy to be here. So that's my
That's
introduction.
amazing. Again, appreciate you coming through. You mentioned basketball, and this is actually game five is tonight. It's,
Yes.
it's looking it's looking like it's gonna go one way, but I know you're on the East Coast there. Any predictions on what we're gonna see tonight?
I mean, first and foremost, I'm on the East Coast, but I'm a Lakers fan. Been Lakers
Okay,
all
okay.
my life. Kobe was my favorite athlete of all time. Um,
Uh-huh.
so I we have King Bron James now,
Mhm.
and he's proven himself time and time again. Anthony Davis has been going nuts, so I think they're gonna close it out. They
Yeah.
got to do it. They got new energy, in the memory of Kobe Bryant. So we about to get that ring tonight.
I love to hear that. It's been so interesting to see Braun like stay at peak for. I mean, bro, he's not young anymore, but he's still like balling, and he still seems to be at the very top of his game. And shout out to him. I'm sure that there's a bunch of like gym time and just he's a smart guy when he's on the floor,
Yeah.
and so inspirational with what he's doing in the community. So I hadn't even planned to talk about him or anything like that, but salute to everything he's doing, and hopefully we see a good game tonight.
For sure, man. He's been an amazing example, like so many other, legendary artists of his caliber. Just to see how he came in and approached the game totally different.
Hmm.
New generation, new different mindset. I love and appreciate and respect how he came in the game, and he didn't have to follow the rules. He's like,
Hmm.
you have a generation that's like, yo, we one team, we're gonna stick with one team, and Bron is like,
Yeah.
no, I'm gonna go where I want to go. I'm gonna write my
Yeah.
own story. To like how he strategically saved his body, like
Hmm.
there would be times he took his game off so he could perform at the level that he's performing at right now at the age, I think, of 35,
I think
36.
so.
But it's good to see, just how he lived and walked he lives and walks his own path, and never lets anybody define or box him in on what he's supposed to do and how he's supposed to do it. Like, greatness for him is his own destiny of what it wants to be. So it's just dope to see it continue to manifest for him.
Yeah, that's amazing, and maybe a good segue into talking about your path, and like maybe we start with like what is success um defined as by you yourself. I know the industry might put it on number of Grammys or accolades, and social media might put it on followers and likes, but how is it that you define kind of success and what you want to get out of the work that you're putting into your craft these days?
Yeah, this is one of my favorite questions to answer because I feel like people need to hear it and be reminded that, we live in a world now, especially that's so fast paced. And, people like to try to define what success looks like for you by metrics that necessarily, you know, don't always paint the picture. I think the biggest thing is I came in and I had to ask myself, like, what do I want out of it? Like you say, what does success
Hmm.
look like for me? And nobody can paint that picture, tell you what that is except you. Some people want to come in and it's like, yo, I'm successful if I sell one album. Like, that's something I've
Yep.
never done. So I did it. Woo, woo. But for me, it necessarily wasn't about, platinum plaques or having a certain amount of money or, physical accolades in the sense of awards, but I wanted to come in and impact the culture and inspire the
Mhm.
culture and shift the culture and leave a mark. And how I wanted to do that was through the music.
Yeah.
I wanted to have classic albums, like classic albums. No matter if you sell 10 million or if you sell 100,000, that can't be defined by a billboard. It's
Mhm.
defined by impact. You know, that's was success for me, and I think I've accomplished that a couple of times.
Yes.
you know, um, inspire a generation. Just to be able to see, some that are coming up after me, that call me and look to me for advice. Like to me, that's successful to still be relevant, doing what
Mhm.
I'm doing. And just to wake up every day and do something I love. That's
Yeah.
successful. The fact that I get to wake up every day and create and be a creator,
Mhm.
and travel the world and get paid to do what I would do for free every single day.
Yeah.
That's success where you have happiness and peace of mind at the end of the day. And anything outside of that is a bonus, that you're
Mhm.
blessed for. So, but I always looked at it as, if you do those foundational things, that are important to you, making great music,
Mhm.
impacting, inspiring, then the accolades will eventually come,
Yeah.
and that's just how I always walk the path. Um, but not to say it's right or wrong. At the end of the day, you have to say, what that is for you. Other people wake up and they're like, yo, I need those 10 number one billboard hits,
Yeah.
and that defines on what you wake up and what your routine is to accomplish that, So that's my personal definition of success, but everybody has to define what that looks like for them.
Yeah. It's been so interesting in hip hop to like observe, Jay on the one hand, um, very kind of like seen and like Common. I'm from Chicago, so I grew up like with early Common, and to see like him on Microsoft commercials now and like in the mainstream is like totally been and weird to see just like people's progression. But like nobody can like write the script for you. Like you have to put one foot in front of the other, one day at a time, and do what's right for you and your family. And then just believe in yourself. And you've seen, both sides. Whether you Jay or Nas or Common or whoever,
Right.
all of those brothers are being successful kind of on their own terms, which is very important, as a black or brown person. So if you tuning in as a community member, just know, you heard it from Rhapsody herself that you could do it your own way.
Yeah.
Don't sacrifice or don't, sell yourself. Um, do what you believe in, and things will come together the way they're supposed to come together for you at the end.
Exactly. Because anything that's forced and that's not authentic to who you are, it'll make you lose love and the passion for what you're doing.
Hmm.
It's hard to wake up every day and force yourself to do something that deep down in your soul that you don't really
Yeah.
connect or align with. And it's like you say, I've learned a lot this year that anything that you want, you create that for yourself. You're in charge of how you want to experience things. That's we talking about Jay-Z, just to bring up an example. He was turned down by every single major
Yep.
label that he walked into, but he was like, "Yo, I want what I want, so I'm gonna get it how I get it. Take my
Yep.
money, invest in myself."
Yep.
We see the career that he's had. He's a
Hmm.
billionaire, number of classic records. He has the plaques and everything, but he has also shifted and impacted a culture, generations. And he's continuing to evolve, like even how he's stepping into the social justice realm and being a leader in
Yeah.
that is so powerful. So, his success bar keeps rising and rising and rising all the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. So the name of the course, like I mentioned, that we're doing is called Community College. And I want to run this by you, right? A lot of that has been a prescription to a lot of black and brown people of like, oh, I want to go for something that's in that Ivy category. And people will pull us down and be like, baby, I don't think you're ready for that. Or some people are just outright like hate on a dream you might have.
Mhm.
So the concept of community so important to a lot of us who've got strong families and strong kind of neighborhoods that we come from that have been supporting us as a tribe as we do our thing. And then on the other side of that, we got college, which is like the intellectual kind of top of the top here in the US. And like your community probably is telling you to focus on education so that you can do better in your generation that than your mom or dad was able to do, and then your granny and them was able to do for themselves. So I wanted to understand kind of how the words community and college in your life like have come um, to have meaning, maybe, and then as it pertains to the concept of this course, like putting those joints back together and taking some of the narrative back. Like, no, it's not a stepping stone. We can like put those two words together and have something strong and powerful result from it. I'd love for you to respond to that.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think community is the foundation of it all. I come from a big family. I come from a small town in Snow Hill, North Carolina, where I grew up, and everything was based on family and community, which is the same unit. And from when you're brought into this world and you're in the family that you were
Yeah.
born into, um, you know, that's where you first start to really learn.
Mhm.
You learn how to eat, how to walk, how to talk. It shapes and molds the way you think, your perspective, how you see the world, how you deal with trauma and emotion. Like
Mhm.
that community um, shapes you and molds you. And those younger years are some of your most formative years. And then you grow and you become a young adult. And
Mhm.
for some of us, not all of us, we seek the next phase, which is higher learning through
Mhm.
an institution. Because I think you can learn higher even if you don't go to college.
Yep.
You know, Knowledge and information is all around us, but those who want it formally in an institution is, to me, I look at it as just another form of community. I
Mhm.
think about my college years, and what I remember and stick out the most first is the group of friends that I made.
Yeah.
Will tell you the people that around you. You 10 people around you, I could look at you and tell what path you're on, what energy you're on.
Mhm.
So I was like, that's where I first met my friends that love music, right? And though I'm gonna go to college, go to accounting, but I had this passion, and they really fed into me and just taught me things about things that I wanted to do and challenged me. In the same way I was challenged in the classroom with professors.
Mhm.
That's another, type of community that I gravitated to and elevated from. And, you know, so to me, when I think of college and community, they all in the same bowl,
Yeah.
but they offer you different phases. Because when you get to college and you're out of your parents' home, and they giving you that foundation of life, you have to find out who you are now. And a lot of times, it takes us a long time to really figure out who we are and what we want to do. And being in college and learning through history and books and learning through people that we've never met from different areas of the world and the country. Like, we get to shape and develop. And sometimes that allows us to unlearn a lot of things that we learned as
Yeah.
a child, to walk in our own truth or to elevate and better ourselves. So, I think that's what community, whether it be college or, you walking out in your neighborhood is, how do we interact and how do we teach each other, whether it be through a formal education or through life, how to be
Mhm.
our whole and best selves. How do we find our truth in that? How do we figure out what we want to leave on this world and imprint? So I think for me, that's how community in college,
Yeah.
kind of went hand in hand. Like, you know, I learned a lot in college, that I think I didn't think, would always apply to the music business either. And I'm
Yeah.
I'm still, thanking myself every day that, I'm happy I had that experience, because I still get to apply it, even though, I'm doing something that wasn't in my field, which was accounting. Um, but
Yeah. I feel split a couple ways in that your community encouraged you and like pushed you towards the thing that you're doing now. And that's a lot about what community is for. When you reach the end of yourself, you got somebody to like um to kind of cheerlead for you and kind of push you into that thing that you might not have done all by yourself.
Sometimes.
And then they could pull you back too. Like they could sometimes hate on the dream. They could sometimes provide feedback that you might not want to hear at the time. But as I look at like your last project, I look at kind of the odes to the different women, and to that point about encouragement and giving flowers to people while they're still alive, or like, you know, paying deference and respect. Just give me like the backstory or the way that maybe you translate your craftsmanship as a writer, a poet, MC into kind of showing appreciation and being a solid part of the community to big up somebody else, and speak on that process for maybe this last album.
Yeah, absolutely. When I was working on Eve, which was the last album, you know, and making those songs and deciding like I want to name every one after an influential Black woman, because you know I do come from a strong community and a village, and you know I said sometimes in the beginning because you know I feel like sometimes in our community they push us to be great, right? You know they want us to live our best lives. They never want to see you struggle, and sometimes what greatness looks like for you, everybody can't always see that vision, and a lot of it comes from fear. You know, but that's the beauty of looking back at this album where, you know, I have my mom and my aunts, my sisters and my cousins who, you know, that's the bricks, you know, of my house, my community. But I also had people outside of that I got to learn and be inspired from, that were the ones that pushed me in a direction that my family didn't always see of how I was going to reach my greatness. And that was people like, you know, who, you know, I was going to name some names I did songs for that necessarily didn't make the album, but like Felicia Rashad, for example, like I love The Cosby Show. I loved her character and the power of how she portrayed Black women and Black motherhood. Lauryn Hill is one of my biggest influences, and Queen Latifah, MC Light, you know, just having Queen on the album, you know, was amazing. You know, looking back and thinking about, you know, Marilee Evers, you know, the wife of the late great Medgar Evers, you know, and thinking about, you know, the strength of a Black woman, you know, to go through hardship and loss and, you know, having to hold it together for a family, you know, during such, you know, hard, turbulent times. You know, it just made me think that, you know, like you say, our community is so much bigger, you know, than, you know, the people that we see every day or the people that we interact with college. Sometimes it's people that you don't even know. You know, I consider them all a part of my community. So, you know, it was just a way of me to tell those people thank you, you know, that I saw them, that I am in the space that I am, you know, partly because of them, you know, whether they knew it or not, whether it was intentional, which, you know, it always is in a sense, but, you know, they're doing what they love too. But, you know, the community, it, you know, it's like a dandelion, you know, you hear and the wind blows and it's just seeds everywhere. You know, and that's how I looked at it. And in doing that, you know, I felt like this is a way for me to do a few things in one time. You know, one, big up the community, right? These women their flowers. You know, it gave me a space too to carve out a lane for me. And, you know, what do I want to leave in this world? How do I want to inspire? How do I want to, you know, show up for my community in the same way they showed up for me? You know, these people that are coming after me. And it was a way, you know, for the younger ones to be educated. You know, to learn about not only myself, but these women that came before me, and understand how far reaching and big our community is, you know. So, you know, that was just a thought process of creating a project like Eve and giving back in a creative way. I hope that answers your question.
No, it for sure does. And I'm thinking of my wife. Shout out to your nail lady, who a sidebar. I'm loving the nails.
I lost one, but
no, all good. I remember like going back. I have two younger sisters, and it was all about the hair and nails through our childhood. So I'm like, they're gonna appreciate this when they see this. So how about I'm thinking about kind of the community of Black women and carving out the lane that you talked about and who you want to influence as a part of what you're doing day in and day out. Um, could you take us back to like when you were a girl? Did you know kind of the direction that you wanted to take or the impact that you wanted to have, even if it was going to be through accounting? You wanted to, in some roundabout way, be able to articulate to that little brown girl or to whoever that you can make it in this field as well, or just take us along the journey of figuring out who and then how to kind of give impact to that next generation in what you're doing.
Yeah. I mean, to be real, the impact or the purpose attached to what I wanted to do, I really didn't, take the time to sit and understand why I wanted to do it till later on.
Mhm.
When I was young, I just saw like these strong, amazing, beautiful women in MC Light and Latifah and Lauren and Missy. And, I love the culture of hip hop so much, for
Yeah.
what it did, the stories that it told, the creativity and it, the fun of it, just making something out of nothing. I saw myself, I saw the beauty of Black people,
Mhm.
of our youth. And it was just something that I knew I wanted to be a part of. Growing up in a small town, um, I felt like it was just a way to give me a voice, to tell stories that, you just think like, yo, I just want to do something dope. But at the end of the
Yeah.
day, like, that music is changing lives. So, that was just my thinking. It was just like, yo, I want to dress in the fly clothes, I want to bar people up, I want to eat these beats, I want to be on TV,
Yeah.
I just want to have a good time and do something I love, and it was something though that was always in the back of my mind. It was like a reoccurring dream, but I was like, I am in Timbuktu. I know nothing about the music industry.
Yeah.
I don't know anybody in my community that has been successful at it. So, sometimes when you don't see yourself, in
Yeah.
it seems so far out of your reach to grasp. So, I was like, I'm gonna go to college for accounting. I'm good at math. I didn't want to be an accountant. I just remember being in high school and, the guidance counselor pulls you out and they're like, you score well in math. So here's some jobs that would be good for you.
Yeah.
And like, all right, accounting, like,
Yeah.
and instead of, taking the time to learn and watch your children, like, yo, what is it my child loves to do? Like, what is it
Mhm.
they're passionate about? So I went to school, but again, when something is true to you and passionate to you, it doesn't leave. That energy never left. So
Yeah.
um, I finally gave into it. And what clicked of, what is the purpose behind what I'm doing? Like, what's gonna drive me outside of, just loving it? Was I was coming up in a time where women in hip hop, they didn't look the same or they didn't have the same space and there wasn't the balance, that it was when I was growing up. It felt, you know, that a lot of them were just pushed out of the public eye. Like, they didn't have a space outside of being a video vixen
Yeah.
or, if you were, you had to dress a certain way or look a certain way. And I was like, not only do I have to show up because this is something that I just want to do and I have to follow my
Mhm.
dream and do it because you only get one life to live, you know, um, I wanna do it. So, again, like I show these young girls after me and Black women in my space, in my community, in this world that, when it comes to women in hip hop, we can't be, just this one cookie cutter version. Like we can't be
Yeah.
mono, you know. I can't allow the music business to define, you know, our image, our story, who we are. So I wanted to be the difference. And, that's what it was for me, just when I started to like really pursue it and see the struggle in it and see the hardships and the roadblocks, it was like, nah,
Yeah.
they don't know. Like I'm a fighter. Like I'm not compromising anything. It's too important to us. Like I remember flying to Africa the first time I went to perform, and I was so excited because I hear like you get off the plane, They give you your passport and they say, welcome home, and as a Black
Yeah.
person that, hearing that, but they didn't tell me that. The lady said, can I ask you a question? And I was like, yeah. She was like, are all the Black women in America like the women on Love and Hip Hop? And I was just like, and it just again makes me think of how the world sees us in these images. And it was just like, man, like, I have to be the difference, I have to bring balance, I have to be the inspiration, because again, if we give our culture away and leave it in the hands of people who don't look like us to tell our story, they ain't gonna tell it right, So, you know, long story long, that was the inspiration, just to pursue what I'm doing, what
Yeah,
I've done.
yeah, that's something I don't think that I know as a kid, 13, 14, 15 years old, I wasn't necessarily thinking about the narrative of Black people and how we're seen in other countries and how we're looked at. Um, and not to say anybody in the current generation who's that age is doing that either, but I think that you got to grow up quicker. And because of the internet and like the way that information is more readily available, that's important conversations that we should be having with the youth and with, I struggle with my own daughter. She's 9. Like she talking about when am I gonna have my own phone? And I'm like, I don't know that I, trust you and your psychology. You're not even all the way developed
Mhm.
to be able to do anything like this. But I can't pull from my parents' playbook because there's no such thing as iPhone back in the 80s and back in the 90s, right? So it's an interesting point you bring up about just the way we're perceived and what you have to be conscious of before you even make a decision. Just in that everything is memorialized and it'll probably pop up on the internet some way, somehow, or be stored, somewhere. So that's something that I want the community to just think about as you move forward. Everything that you're doing has probably a local effect, in your town, in your career, but it's probably going to have kind of a longer lasting effect as well. So represent well wherever you stepping out to and whatever you're doing. So thanks for bringing that up. Which country in Africa um, were you referring to in that story? South Africa or Ghana or Nigeria or where at?
South Africa. We went to Johannesburg and Cape Town.
Okay.
Yeah, it is my favorite place on earth to be right now. So yeah, I love South Africa. I was so inspired. It's just a different energy when I was there, and you never think like to come from where I'm from that, having a little dream of being a
Yeah.
musician would take you, across the world back to your homeland. So you know.
So then, for the people who are watching, like I've never been to South Africa myself. Just paint a picture of like, you grew up in America or in a place that, has capitalism and a bunch of different other things as the pillars of society. What about South Africa and what about the continent has enamored you and like drawn you to it and like would have you say is my favorite spot to be at the moment?
There's so many reasons. I think the first I'm gonna touch on is just the beauty, of South
Mhm.
Africa. In the same way that lady asked me, are all, Black girls the same in America? America has painted this picture of Africa that, is poor, is dirty,
Mhm.
is filled with disease, and all these false narratives and truths. Like this is where, the first man was pyramid
Yep.
mathematician. So, you get off the plane and you just see the beauty. Like, it's big cities just like New York or DC. I have family members all the time, like, I ain't going to Africa. I'm like, what do you mean? Like,
Yeah.
that's that's the place of all civilization. So, just the beauty of it, the air. I love the food. I'm not even gonna lie, I got there and the food is just you eat it, you don't get the itis. Like everything is just healthy and rich and
Yeah.
people and community. To be in Africa and everybody looks like you,
Mm.
everybody. Like, you know, I did a show over there, and I want to say it was 2013. And I think in the States at the time, if I did my own show, I probably would pull maybe 200, 250 people.
Yeah.
Over there, I did a show, 4,000 people, and they all look like me. like, you know, I was like, man, I know how white people feel in America now. You know, like, you know, I just thought it was so beautiful and powerful
Yeah.
and love. And I went to a braai while I was over there. And a braai in Africa is like a barbecue here, cookout. And you know, just the customs where, you know, we would get our single plate and get our burger and fries, put it on and go eat. You know, they bring out family style big plates and everybody just grabs and eats from the same plate and together. So, you know, just to tie it back, like the community, and
Yeah.
about the history of Africa and just going back on, you know, when they used to do villages, they would do them in circles, you know, and, you know, again, that represents community, that everything you give, come back and receive, and, you know, vice versa, and just looking after each other. And, you know, that's what it was about, just connecting back to that richness and love and soul and spirituality, like riding in Ubers over there and listening to the radio where,
Yeah.
you know, the DJs still have control of what they play. Like turn on the radio and hearing like a song that don't have to be on Billboard 10, and then the radio host comes on and they're talking about deep subjects like politics, and people are calling in and having conversations. Like I miss that because we don't get that here on that level. Like it was just all those things, you know, I thought were dope and that just felt at home to me. So yeah.
Dope. That's gonna lead me into like this particular moment that we're in, right? A bunch of stuff happening in our country and our world with COVID, and I'm in California. We got fire. We had fires. There's the election. There's a bunch of stuff. This particular moment and what it means to you, both like the silver lining of it, maybe in that you would have had more opportunity to do stuff that you had on the list and just was traveling too much to do. And then on the other side of it, like the challenge and the thing that you will want to see America and maybe the rest of the world do. So maybe just the question is, you know, what's the moment that we're in now, kind of good, bad, and other? What does it mean to you, and how have you been able to like process, you know, these last couple of months?
Yeah, that's such a loaded question because I think during this time, like you go and feel so much in so many different ways, right? At the beginning of it, before at least the rioting side really started to take off again,
Yeah,
you know, I appreciated, you know, outside of it was just a terrible time, like, you know, thinking about your health and people and family and people that were suffering from COVID. But the silver lining was we all got to be still for a second,
yeah,
and everybody needed to be still. I know I needed to be still because, you know, we were in a place where it was just like nobody ever turned off. You always had to be turned on. You were
yeah,
always moving constantly. Even when you sat down, you're grabbing your phone, you know, you're checking Instagram and this, and it's just like it's like you lose connection with reality and your spirituality, and you know, just just living in space and time and not having to be connected to, you know, any one thing and feeling like I got to be made up all the time. Like I
yeah.
appreciated seeing people that were doing Zooms with no makeup, you know. You know, I appreciated, you know, just sitting home and being still and being quiet, no TV, anything. And then you understand, like, wow, I've been holding in a lot of things, a lot of emotions, a lot of
Yeah,
trauma, a lot of things that, you know, I had to learn about, you know, vibration and elevating higher and getting connected again spiritually. You know, so that was the silver lining in it for me. I got to do a lot of that, and I'm still doing it, but it's been healing and healthy for me. And, you know, it allows me too to say, you know, it's okay to say no. You don't have to be
yeah,
turned on all the time. As you can see, the world is not going to stop if you take a moment for yourself to put yourself first. Um, you know, but then on the other side, you know, you see what it's become, you know, again with dealing with watching Black people die over and over and over again, video in our face, and it's a new name all the time. And you know how we as Black people especially, you know, deal and process with that, you know, like, you know, acknowledging it, you know, making sure, you know, I say my voice, but at the same time being okay with, you know, I can't take any more today.
yep,
Like, okay, like, as it's healthy for me to, like, you know, I can't do it this week,
Mm-hmm.
for my own health reasons. Like, thinking about that, me stopping the music. I was in the middle of, working on an album and saying like, yo, like outside of just making music, to be the soundtrack of this time, what else can I do? And learning about, protesting and uh, justice, and how I could be a part of it in so many different ways, and connecting with activists again, to add more purpose to what I'm already doing. um, you know those were the things like I've just been able to process, and I'm thankful for that. Again, like I could have the time to heal myself, but at the same time to educate and learn, like what else can I do? Like
Yeah.
there's always more to do. Like me tweeting and me posting on Instagram, which is nothing wrong with that, but I know I could do more, bringing that community together again, where we have been separated before, especially when we talk about artists and activists. You think about the times of Aretha Franklin and James Brown and Harry Belafonte, they used to be with the activists, marching alongside them, having private meetings to say, yo, what is this goal that we need to attain? How can we help each other? Muhammad Ali. So, bringing community back again, because, this digital world has separated the community. Everybody's in their own world, their own space. So, those are some of the silver linings.
Yeah, I think it's such an important time and like a gift, a little bit that we've been given to kind of sit with ourselves. And I mean, some of us are grown and adults and don't all the way know who we are. We've been in a pattern of waking up and doing something and getting lunch and then doing some more stuff and coming back. And you do that for enough years and you lose like who you are. What do I love? What do I like? How can I help? Like, how do I break out of this hamster wheel, basically? So I do appreciate that folks have been able to be given the opportunity before sports started back up. There's a time like you get back to the crib and you turn on the TV and you're like, oh, all right, there's nothing for me to do. So I need to like do some work and like sit with my family and just kind of take it back to the old school. And I initially didn't know how to do that because I had gotten out of the habit of doing some of those things. But now it's like, man, thank you, God, for like giving me some space to do that because you're right. America's number one in like getting all the juice squeezed out of every single person who's in this capitalistic society. And if they too sick to do it, or if they too tired or whatever, the system is like, all right, peace out. We find a new cog in the wheel. And yeah, I think this has been a good time to reflect and to rebalance as people and educate yourself and try to figure out how to rebalance. I want to, but like, how do I mean, is it therapy? Is it yoga? Is it some audible books while I'm walking around my neighborhood? So maybe that's my next question about like how, so we know like we want to get to this promised land or this happier place, but how have you in this season? Like, what are some of the go-tos that you do for self-care, or like the ways that you've been able to educate and like just the tactical things?
Yeah. I have a good friend that, has given me a lot of great places, had given me a lot of great places to start. You know, it started off with these podcasts, just talking about, becoming your own best friend,
Mhm.
how to use your mind in a different way, about vibrations, about your chakras and energy and how important, that is. So, I started there, just no TV, no
Mhm.
phone, no nothing, just listening, to these podcasts and YouTubes. I started reading. There's a book that's been my favorite this year, and it's called The Law of Divine Compensation.
Mhm.
Um, and there's so many gems in that. Again about just reprogramming your mind and like separating from the construct, like you say, of having to feel like you have to be a part of this narrative of what this capitalistic society is feeding us to tell us we need to be happy,
Mhm.
and you have to decide what is happiness for you yourself. You don't have to have the biggest house, you don't have to have the nicest car, you don't have to flaunt money, you don't have to go to the biggest school, things like that. Again, spiritually too, I took a lot of time like haven't been to church in years.
Yeah.
So, I took a lot of time for me, whatever your religion, your faith is, that's your faith. But, pray more, to sit in silence sometimes and just listen, just
Yeah.
feel, to have that space with yourself, uninterrupted. I started exercising,
Hey,
yeah. And I was
so
feeling,
important.
I've dealt with panic attacks and anxiety for a long time, and it was really bad during quarantine, like really bad. And I found that, outside of, again, controlling your mind and asking yourself, what's really happening when that happens, because you're always in control. Like, what are you doing? What are you overthinking that's making your mind like go into panic
Yeah.
mode, survival mode? So, learning that and how to, be in control of that more, like exercising, what that does for your body. Those are some of the things that I've been doing, you know, just to, again, learn and elevate higher and just take that time to unplug from the matrix, like for real.
Yeah.
Like the
Yes.
matrix is that movie just tells, the space and time that we're living in, and how we have to see sometimes with new eyes.
Mhm.
So yeah.
Such a classic, and I marvel every time it's been like a year since I watched it, but like it's so on point and so relevant for the like every single time. So like shout out to Lawrence and Keanu and that whole crew. Thank you. How about we mix it up a little bit and do like a lightning round? So like I'll you mentioned South Africa, so I won't like go to your favorite vacation spot, but like um we know that you're a basketball Lakers fan, so we could like throw that out. How about a foodie? So like maybe top one or two dishes that you especially appreciate.
Oh man. One or two. My first one is some home cooked food. And I've been on and off between not eating meat and eating meat, but right now it's
Mhm.
my mom's, baked grilled chicken wings,
Woo.
red potatoes and onions and cabbage. Like, yo, thank you. And then spaghetti. you know,
Okay,
that's it. I'm happy.
love it. How about I've been playing around with a bunch of apps, new apps recently. So how about if you had three apps that you could keep on your phone that are non-Android defaults or
Okay.
non-iPhone defaults?
That
Give me
calendar. I need that calendar.
give me three apps that you fool with these days.
Does iBooks count?
Is that a default Apple one? I mean, I think you could delete it if you wanted to, but let's call iBooks at number one.
Yeah, I definitely gotta have iBooks. I mean, does oh, let me not overthink it, but because I want to say like iBooks, iTunes, but if we taking those off the table, I'm not a crazy app person, but um, there's one that's called. Look, I'm trying to think. Man, I don't know. For real, it's like iBooks, iTunes for me, and I'm trying to see now. I gotta look at my phone to see because you put me on the spot. I like to be creative, right? So there's an app called Over.
Over.
Yeah, it's like it's not Photoshop, but it's like a simplified version of Photoshop. So I like to go in there and just be artistic and make posters and things. Just be
Dope,
creative.
dope.
That's one I gotta have. Let me see. Uh, Another one. If there's only one game on my phone, and it's called
Okay.
Trivia Royale. So it's a trivia game. It just asks you just random from pop questions to politics to
Yeah.
for that. Like when I'm like, I just want to escape and do something fun. I play that. But other than that, give me iBooks and iTunes. I'm happy, bro.
You set. iTunes and some spaghetti. You good to go. How about let's take it to superpower. So like you're an Avenger that could be added to the squad and you could choose whatever superpower you want.
A superpower I want. I'm an Aquarius, so I
Me
was
too.
Give me the superpower to disappear when I need to, because we people person, people person. Whatever, what I'm trying to say. I'm having a brain fart. But it comes to that moment where it's like, all right, now I need my alone time.
Yes.
So give me the power to disappear.
I think I feel like me and you are here with the sneakers. So like, give me your top 2 or 3 pairs of sneakers that you are in love with.
The Jordan 11 will always be my favorite, as well as the Jordan 1. And lastly, probably, man, probably the Air Max 1. Those are still my 3 favorites. I really love Jerry Lorenzo's Fear of Gods.
Yeah.
But I got a small foot, so.
No, I feel you.
I
Within
just,
the 11s, are you talking which colorway? Breads? We talking Space Jams? What we talking?
Breads, definitely. Every
Okay.
time, every few years when they bring those around, I gotta buy 2 or 3 pair of those.
Yeah.
Automatic.
I feel that. I'm trying to, I got a brother, got 3 kids. I'm trying not to be as bad as I used to be, but
Treat yourself
I don't know
every time you get. That's healthy too.
Yeah, self-love, right? That's what I could tell my wife. Self-care, honey. I need these.
Absolutely.
Yeah. They just dropped you see that Sneakerheads show on Netflix just came out. So they have a whole show dedicated to sneakerheads now. If you haven't seen it, check that out. So put that on your to-do list, and maybe I'll ask the question like, okay, what's your top 2 or 3 movies or shows that you get into when you're not writing rhymes or doing the work thing?
What you want? Movies or shows? What you need?
Let's do movies first.
Okay. Color Purple is my favorite movie of all time. I could watch that a million times. The scene where Suge is singing to the church in that yellow dress. I
Yep.
wind that back at least 10 times. I think my second favorite movie would probably be ATL.
Mm-hmm.
Every time that comes on, I watch that. I have to. And third, like I love so many movies, but just to switch it up, there's a movie that came out in the 90s. I want to say it was like 96, and it's called Primal Fear.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you've seen it, but don't ask me who in it because I'm terrible with actor names. But this movie, I love thriller movies, and
Mm-hmm.
Primal Fear was such a dope thriller movie, and it had a crazy twist at the end. And that's one of the movies that I always add to the credits of, why when I write, I like to have a twist with my metaphors, or why I like to connect my metaphors. Like movies has inspired me in my own craft, and that's like one of the first ones. So yeah, Color Purple, ATL, and Primal Fear.
Dope. Let's jump to the
fourth, Queen and Slim. That joint fire.
Oh yes, absolutely. Yes. That was probably the last movie that I saw multiple times in the theater before everything shut down. So shout out to that whole crew for putting that together. Jump over to the shows now. Let's see what you like on that side.
Okay, Law and Order SVU.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I tell you, I like crime and thriller. I was a crazy big How to Get Away with Murder fan, but that season finale, that show is off. But I still like to watch the classics, and I have to group these together with Living Single, Different World, and Cosby Show. Like, I will sit up till sometimes they'll run like I don't know how many episodes on TV One or BET, and I just sit there and I'm just like, yo, Living Single. That's my top 3. I'm trying to get into Lovecraft Country. So I'm only getting the 3rd episode because I've heard so many great things about it, and the first 2 episodes, like it takes me about 3 or 4 episodes to really get into it and run the story, and just before it takes off. But I love the creativity of it, and how they're taking all these different styles, Jordan Peele, and meshing them into one where it's aliens and history pieces. and just the monologues that they have, like a James
Hmm.
Baldwin talking over a scene with aliens or whatever, and I'm just like, yo, who thinks it is? It's so crazy.
Yeah.
They brought that Ouija board out at the beginning of the third episode. I had to turn it off because I don't do demonic stuff.
Yeah. It's still in my queue. I haven't even seen episode one. So I'm just like, I got so many things to do. And like, I have to, we all like during COVID, and I'm in the tech industry. I work here in a office. I close the door in this conference room every day. And I'm like, I can sit here and do 8 hours of nonstop work and nobody's gonna say, hey Brandon, take a break or like chill out and just do something for
Right.
yourself. So I'm slowly learning to, go grab a sandwich and then put a little Netflix on for a half an hour before I jump into my next thing. So
I know.
Lovecraft it's in the queue, but I haven't watched it yet.
I gotta see what you think about it. But that's important because especially like when we are in charge of our own like work, we don't have the
Hmm.
regular 9 to 5. Like it's the same. It's hard for me to turn off sometimes. Like I have to remind myself like it's okay to take a break. Because sometimes I'll start watching a movie and I'll be like, yo, you need to write. Like, what are you doing? Like you
Yeah.
work. Like it's almost an obsession. But we got to remind ourselves that again, with self-care, and it's just healthy to just stop. And you got to water yourself before you can give to other people. So
Yeah, chalk it up to like this is inspiration. This is seeds that are gonna come out in the work itself, and I think it totally works like that. I'm sure you're influenced by every element and every aspect of life around you, right?
yes, my brain never ever turns off, like ever. So, and I just did that recently. Like you know, not to even go away from rapid fire, but like talking about the year and how like emotionally, like you all over the place and there's so much
Yeah,
going on, and it's been so hard for me to be inspired and be creative again. And these last like 2 months or so, I was starting to stress about it. Like, yo, I'm not inspired to write. I try to write, nothing comes out. Have I gotten whacked? Like, have I lost it? Like, what's happening?
yeah,
And I did a verse the other day, and I was like, man, I hate this. Like, this is not of the level that I
yeah,
work at. And then I had to tell myself, like, just walk away from it. It's okay. And I think I don't know if I was depressed or what, but I woke up, I work out, and I'm just like, man, I'm just gonna watch Law and Order all day. I probably
yeah,
did for 7, 8 days. I was like, I feel like such a bum. And then it just clicked. And now I'm
mm,
on where everything's pouring out because like it's okay. Like you gotta stop sometime and listen to what your body and your mind's telling you, like, yo, I need a break. So I
I
need to
think that's so important for like the whole community to hear, right? Because um, there's this concept of flow that I mean, probably for your line of work and mine, if you're a computer software person, there's certain times where it's just coming out and you up till 2, 3, 4 a.m., banging it out. And then there's some days you're like, man, it's just I can't stay focused or I can't do this or whatever. And I don't think, like you said, people give themselves enough time to just take a little break, whether that's an hour or whether that's a whole day, especially in the times that we're in right now,
especially.
where it's unprecedented. And the difference between somebody having a mental snap
Mhm.
and just taking a nap are like paper thin, you know what I mean? So I feel like tell them, just tell them, just
And
take a break.
you gotta give ourselves grace. Like give yourself grace to turn off. It is okay.
Yeah. So yeah, maybe the last question I'll ask, and again, man, I appreciate you for rocking with us and giving us time. And I think that there's plenty of gems and bars that the community will take away from this conversation.
I hope so.
Um, just to sum it all up and to like give people kind of your final thoughts and encouragements, to that kid who's in high school, zooming away, might had planned on graduating in person and might have to do that virtually. To that, single mom who may have been laid off and thinking about her next thing to do with her career. To that elder who might be popping in, wagging their finger like both of them could have been my grandkids. Like, what would you say to the people out there just during this time and to kind of close things out?
Man, during this time, there's so much. I think the first thing is to be kind to yourself. Again, grace, to be graceful with yourself. to listen to your body, listen to, how you feel, what your mind is telling you. One of my favorite pieces of advice my mom gave me, I have Graves' disease, and uh, I wasn't always feeling well. And, I had a job at the time and I was trying to make the job. And she was like, if you don't feel good, stay home. Because she was like, if something happens to you, they just gonna replace you. So take care of yourself. So first, my message to the community is take care of yourself.
Yeah.
It's okay to, not always feel your best, but don't stay in that place. Don't allow yourself to live in that place. Acknowledge it, peel back why you feel that way, and then, work your way out of it. Two, do something every day that makes you happy. If you're not already living, your passion and your dream, wake up and make sure you do something that gives to you. It's important for us to give to ourselves. A lot of times, we spend so much time giving so much energy to others. Again, take care of yourself. Be patient, during this time. Be patient with your process of your dream. Anything worth having, is not going to come overnight. So enjoy the process of building things brick by brick, where you start with the foundation and the next day you come up in the framework. Like, that process is a beautiful process. So take your time, and whatever it is that you're doing, you're studying, and believe in yourself. Your community, they love you, but you have to believe in yourself before anybody else can.
Amen to that.
That's my.
Well, I appreciate the time. That brings me to like wanting to give you your flowers. Like, you inspire me. I didn't tell you that, like, I stuttered as a child, and like I stumbled into hip hop, like writing raps as a 6 or 7-year-old, because I couldn't like get my own words out.
You know
And
who
now
else?
that who
Kendrick Lamar.
really,
Mm-hmm.
wow. And it was a confidence builder for me, and something that turned into like, I look at my old notebooks from when I was like 8 or 9 years old as like inspiration. Like, you couldn't actually speak and get the word out. And I'm just a hobbyist in terms of putting rhymes together, but like how hip hop culture has helped to fortify something in myself to be confident when I speak to other people, to participate in the culture from a youth culture, fashion perspective, business perspective, entrepreneurship perspective. So I know there's a whole bunch more me's and other people who have their own stories, who look up to you and respect the work that you're doing, respect the fighting of the status quo to not over sexualize our Black women, to not put us into one monolithic category, and then to just grind it out. You mentioned your Graves' disease. Like, everybody's on the one hand known for something, but then when they're talking about being in the gym or being kind of outside of the public eye, nobody ever knows the struggle all the way. So for all of that stuff, we as a community salute you and say we appreciate what you're doing. Stay safe, stay sane out there, and yeah, we're looking forward to connecting and doing some stuff with you in the near future if you're open to it. So
Absolutely. We
happy
thank
Friday.
Thank
Let's
you.
go Lakers tonight, and we'll connect real soon.
All right, loved one. Thank you so
All right.
much.
All right. See you, Rap.
Bye.
All right. Peace.